Hi everyone, welcome to Let's Mod Armageddon Empires, with me, your host Tim. And today we won't be playing the game, instead I'm going to be showing you guys how you can manipulate the game files, or edit them in this case, to change the values of the cards. We're going to go over where the files are located, what the files relate to, and we'll change a few things to show you how it works. I've gotten about that far in my modding so far, and I feel plenty confident I can share some of this information to you and not lead you astray. So before we go any further, know that I do not work for Cryptic Comet. I do not know Vic Davis. I've only been tweaking the game files for like a day to figure out how it kind of works, and I've got myself in quite a bit of trouble, but I've also figured out how things work. So let's get started. The first thing I highly recommend you do, by the way, is back up your original game. Back up your files as much as possible, because if you mess up your game and you did a bunch of changes and you don't remember what you changed and you can't undo it to restore it to its original format, your game might not run ever again. So please keep that in mind as we do this. Sorry, I need some more caffeine. Okay, so where are your game files located? Right, let's go over that. Oh, let's go over that first. Actually, also note that in the game description down below, I will have links to the different timestamps in this video where I talk about certain things, and I will leave up annotations up here that you can hide them if you wish, or obviously, or you can click on them to jump to certain parts of this video where I will cover certain things. Also note, I'm not a teacher. This is my first attempt trying to teach someone how to do this, so hopefully I do that correct. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I can make a video to show you how to solve any modding problems or questions you have, assuming that I'm able to figure out myself. Alright, so let's go ahead and start. So, your save games are located in a different spot than the game data itself. Let's go over where both of these are located really quick. You'll find your game save data probably on your C drive in your users, your username, Timothy in my case, my documents, Armageddon Empires game. In here, you'll have your save decks, your save games, any Iron Man save games, and game data. These are basically just options located in this folder here. And that's pretty much it. Just copy this Armageddon Empires game directory, paste it someplace else, and you'll have made a backup in case things go bad. To restore your backup, just in case you don't know, just copy that directory and paste it back in your original location right here. So, well, not my location, that'd be really weird, but place it in yours. The game data itself should be located in where you told Armageddon Empires to install itself, I think. It's been years. So, in my case, that's in my E drive, in Program Files x86, Cryptic Comet, and here I have Armageddon Empires, Occult, and Solium Infernum, all the Cryptic Comet games I have installed. Just once again, copy Armageddon Empires and paste it someplace else. In my case, I have a game backup data where I have my original Armageddon Empires in all its original glory, saved forever, and my current save game files as well, just in case I need to restore them. Okay, so that's where the stuff is located. Oh, to make it a little easier to navigate, I highly recommend that you just add them to your favorites. I'm using Windows 7, so I have this little option here. You can just click and drag them over here, and then, if you would like, you can just click on that again to bring you right back to this directory. This way you don't have to navigate all the way around. Oh, by the way, if you restore your backup, make sure it's named, the directory's named the same. I renamed these a little bit just because it's easier for me to remember. I don't know why, because I have OCD. But make sure that when you paste them back, so if I was to go over here, I just need to copy Armageddon Empires. Over here, copy Armageddon Empires latest original, paste it over here, and rename it into Armageddon Empires. And then my original game has been restored. Okay, so let's start looking at the game files themselves. So, inside game data, we have our AI deck, so that's pretty self-explanatory. These are all the decks that the computer will go ahead and use. Card, cat objects. Cat stands for category in this case. Inside this directory, we'll find the individual types of unit cards for each faction. It's going to be everything you could add in here. your cards. All of these. C3I facilities, your scouts, your elite infantry, whatever you like to see, whatever cards these are, you'll find them all right here as flat text files. Card keys are, well, I believe these are the, I want to say these are the special environment variables associated with different cards. So, you know how you have a card that produces 1 energy and 1 human resource? Well, how it does that is defined inside the card keys. Sometimes, like for example, we might want to, in this case, for this example, I would, maybe if I want to increase what my industrial pod produces from 1 human and 1 energy to 1 human, 1 energy, 1 tech, I would need to be able, the game would need to know that's an option first, and I would edit the appropriate file to add it as an option. We will cover that in a little bit. Right now, all you need to know is that this is where the definitions of your unit's abilities are located. With the card so again, card category objects covers the cards themselves and what they can do, and if it's legal or not will be defined in card keys. Data lists, as far as I'm aware, this might be a little bit of how the AI makes decisions on placing resource tiles, as well as what it decides to name its armies as. Game card objects will be everything that's not in your create deck. These will be your tactic cards, your fate cards, game items such as weapon attachments or what have you. I think that's in here. Let's take a quick peek. Yep, there's Cluster Bomb, Super Mutagen, City Killer Trident, etc., etc. Those are all right in here. And these are, things producible. Your genetics, your tech, and your tactic cards. And finally, we have different tiles. These will be things from your basic resources for all the different factions, your unique, your core resource tiles, and unique game tiles, such as the Great Berm, or the Hive, or the Jenga Tower, for example. Okay, so now we've gone over what all of these files are. Let's go ahead and start editing them. So, first thing I'm going to point out right away is that if you have a file open, you won't be able to edit the deck in the game. So I think, for example, if I went over here and edited my Airpower text file with, let's say my Open Office Writer, and I tried to go ahead and create a machine deck, it's not going to let me because I have the file open already. So make sure that your file is not open when you go ahead and start creating a deck. Okay, so I think, can we actually open this, however, with Notepad without giving me too much trouble? Might be able to do that. Yes, okay, so Notepad doesn't put a lock on the file, which is why I can use Notepad to do it. So we'll use Notepad in this case. Normally I recommend making your changes something else, because Notepad only lets me undo 1 change at a time. Okay, so let's take a look at the file together. Oh, and one more time, where was that located? eDrive, Program Files, x86, Cryptic Comet, Armageddon Empires, and Game Data, Card Category Objects, and I'm looking at the machines. So in here are all the different text files associated with the different things we see over here. Let's edit the Airpower, because that was the one I showed during the previous video. So if I open it with Notepad, we get this. Well, what does all this mean? Let's start taking a look at it together. So first off, we have a card category known as Airpower. Its name is Machine Airpower. Its description is Testing New Description, in my case, because I edited it earlier and forgot to change it back. And it uses the pick ID Airpower category. Well, where does all this relate to? Over here, we have our Airpower. And we can see, hey, look at that. It's got a pick, Airpower. That's what the Airpower category pick ID probably is for. It's got a description, which is Testing New Description, and a name, Machine Airpower. Let's try changing it. So let's change Machine Airpower to Machine Uber Airpower. And we'll change the description. Let's try change the description to the best created from the best scraps dotting the wasteland. And the pick ID we'll leave alone, because I think if I change this, it won't load at all. Now, I made the change right now here, but the change won't happen on this side until I get the game to reparse this file. That's done by creating a deck. And now we have Machine Uber Airpower, created from the best scraps dotting the wasteland. Yep, it's that simple to change things. Let's put it back to Machine Airpower, because Machine Airpower is not, well, it is pretty uber, but not that uber. Okay, so with that in mind, we can take a look at one of the Machine Airpower units, the Apparition. So I put it back to its original format. It's got 4 points, 4 defense, 2 fate, 2 hit points, suborbital, and with my new description that I had added into it from earlier. Let's look at the equivalent over here. So first off, we have num cards 4. If you're going to delete or add a card to a category, make sure this is the correct number in here. In this case, we have 4 Machine Empire cards. Make sure this is 4. 1 card, well, this is the first card that will be displayed here, and it's the Apparition, because I see it down here. Node active 1. I don't know what this means. This is probably some Adobe Director thing to help it figure out if it can actually display this or not. I recommend leaving that alone. Act requirements. Oh, because this is Adobe Director, and I think that was used for plays and movies, this might be related to that. So I don't recommend you do anything to act requireds. Just leave that alone as being empty in this case. Here's the card name, though. Apparition. So we could change this if we wanted to, I don't know, let's try changing it to Ghost Strike. And here's the Ghost Strike now, instead of Apparition. Well, if you're beginning to realize, probably by now, how easy it is to change things in the game. Here's a card description. You just put whatever you like right in that. Here's your card pick. Now, this draws from the pictures that are probably stored inside card picks. So you're limited to whatever is inside here for your pictures. You can probably replace this with, oh, I don't know, let's try a human one. I don't know if that will actually work, but we'll give it a shot. So if I go over to Card Category Objects, Imperial, and I look at the, let's see, where are you? Airpower. If I was to take this, can I replace the card pick? I've not actually done this before, so we're going to try this on screen. Yup. You can go ahead and change the picture to this one instead. But it's gotta be a picture it knows about. You can't just, you know, say, well, I want it to load this cool picture I have. Not unless you've added that picture to your card pick CXT file. And I unfortunately do not know how to do that. Next, let's look at a few, well, obviously let's look at a few more things. We have the card type. This helps the game figure out how the card was going to work. It's an attack card, and it's an aircraft. The attack card means that we can use it probably like an aircraft. The aircraft flags it as an aircraft for attachments or what have you. I think that's the way it works. It's not unique. It's got a 0 here. That means we can have more than one of it in the deck. These are its current hit points. Well, pretty obvious. If you want to have more hit points, just up the number by as much as you like. I think we could even give it, like, let's see, can I give it 20 hit points? Yep, 20 hit points. That is so blatantly overpowered, it is ridiculous. But you could go ahead and do so. These are the resource costs it requires to use it as an attack card. 3 action points and 4 energy. Here's its attack strength when used to make an attack. Num cards. This is used in other types of cards, but I haven't seen it used in any Airpower, so I don't think it needs anything here. I'll leave it as void. This is its defense dice. This is its range. Probably related to suborbital. Its range is 100. Here's its speed. Doesn't need one. It's an attack card. Its resistances doesn't exist. It has no command rate. It's got 2 fate. Obviously, you can up it or down it as you like. The cards allowed are 5. This is the number of cards in which you're allowed to have of this in the deck. If I was to change it to 10, I can now stick 10 apparitions in my deck instead of just 5 of them. It's not a facility, so it has no facility level. It can't be upgraded, so it's got no FAQ upgrade list. It's a specialist. Specials list, in this case. These are the special abilities that this card has. Air-to-air 7 and suborbital. Well, where are these located is a good question. Those would be in the card keys that we saw earlier. In this case, I know that I can increase the air-to-air to 9 because I saw it in the card key list. And now it's air-to-air 9. However, if I tried to change that to, let's say, 13... Note that it loses the ability altogether, and I have this EOF here. That stands for end of file. It parsed the entire card keys directory, or whatever file it's looking for that information as to what on earth air-to-air 13 means, and it didn't find it. It doesn't exist. So we would have to try to add that into card keys if we want it to exist. I don't know if we can, but I do know air-to-air 10 exists over there. There, and you can have air-to-air 10 on an apparition if you really, really wanted to. Well, that covers your air units. Oh, and finally you have the point cost. This is the point cost it would take to add the card to your deck. 4 in this case. I could lower it to 3 if I wanted to. See? And now it's 3 point costs over here. That's all there is to it. You'll find all the cards work this way. So, for example, let's go look at another card. Let's go look at, oh, I don't know. Let's look at the armor really quick that we've got. Oh, I'm looking at the Imperial. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and look at the machines instead. And that would be automats is what I'm looking at currently. Oop, and I have to get it to, well, I don't have to get to reload. But I'm going to anyway. I'm messing this up. It's all wrong. Right, here we go. Automats. So again, there's 4 cards. Leviathan, etc., etc., etc. So let's go ahead and try adding a new card to this list. But before I do that, I'm going to quickly stop the recording because I really like... Okay, so I'm back. I haven't done anything off screen, so here we go. So let's try adding a new card to this. I'm going to increase number of cards to 5, and we're going to copy this card and place it all the way down here. We're going to rename it 5 card now. It's going to be active, and we'll name it to weapons. Well, all right, we'll be unimaginative at the moment. Weapons platform. We're still going to use the Leviathan pick. It's going to be an automat. We'll leave it as an automat. We'll give it less hit points, though. I think we'll give it 5 materials, 3 energy. Actually, let's give it 4 materials, 3 energy, and 5 tech. Let's lower its attack rating down to 7. We'll give it, I don't know, 8 defense sounds fine. Range 2, speed 1, resist 5, all sounds good. We'll allow 3 cards in the deck. I'm going to go ahead and change some of this stuff just to see if I can give it some new abilities. Let's go ahead and give it shock attack, I think. That's how we do it. Let me take a quick peek at another card. My Elite Infantry Scourge Platoon has hashtag or pound shock attack. So we'll give this one shock attack. I'll also give it air to air 7. And I'll lower the points cost to 6. Now, let's see if I've done it. Weapons platform. Oh, but it has a mistake. It doesn't know what air-to-air 7 is. I must have messed that up. What's it called? Air-to-air 7. Did I forget the hashtag? Oh, that looks the same to me. Okay, so I've messed something up here. But in any case, it looks like... so I went ahead and the card's been created. It has shock attack, but it didn't understand air-to-air 7 for some reason. I'm not sure quite why. I'll be right back, everyone. I'm going to go take a look at the Ogre, which also has air-to-air. Actually, we should do this on screen. So I think that will be in... Oh, it's not going to be inside card category objects. It's probably in game card? Game units? Is there an ogre in here? OGR. That's what it was called. Here's the OGR. So why is this... Ah! Because I need AAA on it instead. So let's try that. So we now have AAA6 on this card. This is what learning how to mod is all about. Anti-air 6 allows a unit to attack incoming air attacks. It's different than the anti-air though. So probably the anti-air must be used by the game engine. In order to require the card to be used, you must have to spend action points and resources, whereas this just lets it happen. You know, I bet that if I was to go ahead and look at the machine battle support, they have an anti-air in here too. Yep, AAA7. Okay, so that was just my misunderstanding of how it worked. Okay, well, there you have it. So we just created the new card, everyone. We went ahead and made a weapons platform. We can add 3 of them to the deck. That's a pretty neat card, huh? We could even use picture of the ogre or what have you in it instead if you really wanted to. Alright, so it is easy as I thought to add a new card to the deck. Just remember, when you add a new card, make sure that you've upped the card number, 5 card in this case, and you up the num cards by 1 number to 5. Now, I'm not going to leave this in here, as much as I would really like to leave that type of thing in. And we're going to lower this back down to 4. Just want to make sure it still loads the thing, and it does. You can change cards to be in other locations as well. So, for example, I could move an automat to an automecha by copying the card. So let's actually do that on screen. So let's move. I don't know, just for testing. Let's move the Protus out of automats, and we'll move it into, I don't know, machine infantry together. So let's take this card, which is the Proteus, and we're going to remove it. I'll then need to rename 4 card, 3 card, and lower this down to 3. Note that the Proteus is now gone from automats. Next, we're going to go ahead and move them to robots. So let's go ahead and do that. So game data, card category objects, machines, and that's under the infantry tab, or the infantry type of card. So where are you, infantry? This is elite infantry, generals, machine infantry. We'll up the number of cards to 9. Paste it down here. Make this the 9 card now. And let's see if this just works. I don't think it will, but maybe it will. Oh, yep, it shows up. However, it's still a unit automat. If I wanted it to make it a machine infantry like the other ones, then I'm going to have to change a few things here. Its base ID should probably be infantry, and its card type should, well, I'm sorry, infantry would let me put cyborg enhancements on it. It should be whatever my sentinels are. It's a robot. So let's change him to a robot. And his card type will now also be a robot. There we go. And now he's added as a robot. Cool looking robot. As opposed to a automecha. What's the difference? Well, you can slightly tell the difference by the color of the card. Let me put him back to being an automat. Notice that he is the dark color now, the dark blue, not the light blue color. This means the game's going to treat him a little differently in the game. Like, we can put defensive nanites on him, but we can't give him any advanced tactics, for example, that we could do if we changed him to be a robot instead. And that's how you simply move cards around. Pretty easy, huh? I'm going to undo this, and we'll do it on screen just to drive home the fact that you want to make sure all this is correct. And then back in automats, can I re-add him in? Yep. Use a 3 card, make the 4th card active. And there we go. Piece of cake. By the way, be very careful when you're editing these files. So I've already gone over that. If you mess it up, you'll be in trouble. You can easily mess up the game if you accidentally don't add the right number of brackets around something. As you can see, we just lost the game all because of a bracket mismatch. Make sure that each bracket has the appropriate amount of ending brackets around it. Oh, and I was going to mess it up again. How about that? There we go. That's the correct way. Okay, so we've gone over how to manipulate units' abilities. We can create cards simply by following this, though we can't create new art for them. We can change cards to be different types of cards altogether if we want. You can do the same thing for tech as well and fate, but I think I've gone over the basics enough at the moment. Well, alright, let's go over 1 or 2 more things, then I'm going to take a small break because my throat is parched. I am really, this is a lot of talking. Okay, so let's go back to game data. Let's look at a few other things really quick. So, if you don't, by the way, if you don't know what something's called, like you want to add shock attack to something, but you don't know what shock attack is, go and look for something that has a shock attack, and you'll be able to figure out what needs to be added to the specials list. Let's go ahead and do something for our facilities together. So let's go to our CAD card category objects and our machines, and let's look at our facilities in here. I think I'm interested in industrial and infrastructure facilities. So these will be a little more complicated. It works generally the same way with the card category, pick ID, number of cards, etc., etc. But let's cover a few different things about facilities. First off, they have a facility level, and this is the level which it starts out at, in this case, level 1. You notice that it has a FAQ upgrade list. There's no level of upgrades here. There's no, like, you're allowed to upgrade this 4 times. The game automatically is able to figure that out based on the amount of upgrades listed in this upgrade list. Let's look at the upgrade list together in a new text document. How do you read this? Well, quite simply, as such. Oh no, nope, stop helping me. Was it? Okay, that was me instead. All right, so let's add a few spaces here, just to give you an idea of how this is grouped. I sure hope this is going to be somewhat helpful, because this is programming to me. Yeah, I'm doing this on screen. I'm so sorry, everyone. Okay. That's how I parse it in my head. And this is probably how you should be parsing it too. And what this is this is splitting up the different values. So first off, these double brackets are starting the definition of facility upgrade list. The facility upgrade list contains 2 upgrades. It's separated them by these brackets. In this case, our first upgrade contains 2 values. The first one is the cost of the upgrade. The second is what you gain when you've paid that cost. So for 1 AP, 1 tech, and 2 materials, you will upgrade its hit points by 1. Oh, that's weird. This is a mistake. This is me. Oh wow. Okay, never mind. It's not a mistake, but I tried to edit this earlier during my testing. It would normally look like this to start in your game if you looked at the industrial pod. So it would look like, I think it would look like humans. I think that's what it would look like originally. One second, everyone. Oh, this is embarrassing, but we're gonna. This is why you have backups everywhere, right? This is why you have backups. So before we go any further. Oh, my backup. Whoa, why did that go all the way up there? So let's go ahead and take a peek at my latest original game data, card category, machines, infrastructure. Yup. Humans materials, not tech materials. That was me attempting to fix it so that the machines didn't require human resources to upgrade their industrial pod. I thought that was really weird. Okay, well, crap. Alright, well anyway, so let's go back to editing our real game now. And we go over here to infrastructure facilities again. Okay, so still tech, because I didn't save the game. So anyway, the way you read this, because there's a lot of brackets there, and if you didn't recognize the brackets or the comma or the spaces, you might mess it up, so be very careful here. But what we're going to do is we're going to add another upgrade for this. So to do that, we would just need to add one extra upgrade to the facility. In this case, I'll copy this, add a comma, and now we added another upgrade. It does the same thing as the second one, in that it costs 1 tech, 2 materials, increases hit points by 1, and its defense by 1. But I'm going to make the final one be a little different. It'll add 2 more to its defense. And that's all there is to it. Now if you go ahead and look at our infrastructure, note that number of upgrades, 3, is now present. Because the game realized, oh hey, there's a third upgrade here. And we define what it will do. Pretty easy, huh? Think you might be able to do this for like your Terminus if you wanted it to be upgraded another time, just like the Nexus was. So for example, if we go to our... go all the way back over here to our CAD categories, machines, and we look at our military facilities. Notice how the Nexus can be upgraded. We could upgrade the Terminus too. What we would have to do is we'd have to say FAQ upgrade list and give it something. Number of upgrades, 2. So it can now be upgraded. Oh no, that's Nexus, I'm sorry. Number of upgrades, 1. Alright, and that is correct, because normally it would say 0. And our Terminus can now be upgraded once, because we added this to it. If I was to retake it out again... number of upgrades, 0. Can't upgrade the Terminus again, just as it originally was. And that's how that works. Pretty... Okay, hey everyone. I apologize about this quite rude interruption here. I did a bunch of stuff on screen trying to try something, and it didn't work. But the good news is I have something else to show you guys now, and something I've realized. So, where we left off, I just showed you guys how to add upgrades to a facility. That's pretty neat. We've generally covered everything there is to see. But there's one more thing I'd like to show you guys, a bit of a warning, as it were. Let's say that we wanted to change our industrial pod so it generates different types of resources. Let's say we wanted to generate 1 materials and 2 energy, not 1 materials and 1 energy like it currently does. Normally, you just go over here to the game data, card category objects, and you'd edit your infrastructure facilities, and, I don't know, look for the specials list, and try changing it to M1E2. And we see we get end of files. Okay, so we can't. Now, nothing in the game actually allows a infrastructure to produce 1 material and 2 energy. It's simply not in the game. You won't find it on any cards. So you can look for stuff like this inside a different directory. Inside card keys, are all the legal types of specials you're allowed to assign to your cards. In this case, ones that we can assign to a facility will be located here, in the facility text. If we look up bonus M1E1, we'll see it right here. This facility generates 1 materials and 1 energy resource per turn. Cool. You might be thinking, well, why not just add this one in here? So let's give that a try, and let's see what happens. So here we go, adding M1E2 in here. We'll just change it to Rgen M1M2E, and we'll change the description as well. Oh, it didn't take. Oh, of course it didn't take, because I have to edit the card key. Oh, sorry, the category. So now we come back over here, we look at the infrastructure facility, and we change the specials list to the new special we just created. This facility generates 1 materials and 2 energy resource per turn. Not bad, you might be thinking. I went ahead and edited it, and I added a new ability. Well, let's show you what happens when you do that in the game. So, okay. So I'll be right back. I want to redo this again to show you. Okay, so here we have my industrial pod with the new Argen M12E here. Notice that I'm currently generating 2 materials, 1 energy, and 1 tech. I have enough supply and enough resources to deploy my new awesome industrial pod. Let's deploy it. Cool. It's been added to my thing as it should have been. However, my income hasn't increased. Indeed, if I end my turn, I haven't gained any additional resources whatsoever. This is because the game still doesn't understand what I just did here. I added a description, and I added I tried to give the bonus here. However, I believe this is baked into the game's resources itself. I can't actually make a new type of bonus. I can only use what exists in the game files currently. So for example, I can't make something that generates 5 human resources if it didn't already exist. I'm forced to use what's already in the game on other units or hexes. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and try to change our industrial pod, however, to generate the 2M1E instead. So, to do that, we will just change it to this. Fire this up. And we see that now we have a 2M1E card here. Let's actually, I would like to see something really quick as well. So, to test all this, I had to make a new deck as well. I want to take a look at these industrial pods really quick that I added in here. Okay, so they've taken the change. Am I lucky enough to have the change affect this actual card? No, end of file. I thought so. Okay, so what's happening here is that this industrial pod is loaded into this game already with the previous instructions. This one is looking for bonus M1E2 because of how the game itself is loaded. So I'll be right back, and we're going to try a different industrial pod. Basically, what I'm showing here is that my save file is no good anymore. My industrial pod, this industrial pod card, as well as probably any that I have in my deck, is looking for the M1E2 bonus, not the not the M2E1 that I just created. And although it's in my actual deck now, if I went to go ahead and edit it, again, we'll take a peek at that. Oh, that was interesting. Did you notice that for a second? These industrial pods that I loaded the game with, so the ones I currently have assigned have end of file in them. That's interesting. So these ones wanted to use the old value, M1E2. These ones will now generate 2 materials and 1 energy. I'll be right back. I'm going to go ahead and load a game and see if the change took. Okay, everyone. Now we're back in a new game, and I have my new industrial pod, Argen 2 Materials 1E. Again, this is my current income per turn. If I went ahead and dropped the industrial pod, we can see that now I am generating 1 extra material and 1 extra energy. 2 extra materials and 1 extra energy. This is because the game understands M2E1 entirely. It's located here in the facility.txt, originally with the game. You can't add new abilities or effects into the game. It's just not possible. You have to use what already exists. Okay, I think that covers basic cards, I think. We've seen them used in game. We now understand that we can create new cards. We can adjust values that already exist as long as those values, yes, already exist. We can't create something new, like if Assault 8 doesn't exist, we can't make Assault 8. If there's no ability that is like Sniper 9, we can't make Sniper 9. It's not supported by the game. Okay, when we come back, we'll take a look at the card keys a little more in depth. We'll go ahead and look at the Fate and the Tech and Genetics cards as well, and see what those can do for us. And we'll try and take a look again at the AI decks. I want to end this saying that I have tried for about an hour and a half today to get the AI to use one of my decks, and I can't make it do so. It utterly refuses to play them. It seems to be an issue, I think, with how my deck is weighted. I don't think the game's able to figure out what type of deck it is. Like, I really suspect it's confused if it's a defensive or offensive deck. It just doesn't know, because the game dies when I try to play with it. It won't place a single tile down on the board. I can load its decks, but even if I make one that looks exactly, well, we'll see. Alright, so anyway, thank you for watching this. If you have any questions about anything that you've seen, please leave it in the comments, and I will make a video to address your questions. Or I'll respond in kind, but I prefer actually to make a video for this. I find it's more personal, and also I could hopefully answer the question completely here. Okay, so that's it. Again, thank you for watching. This has been the first part of Let's Mod Armageddon Empires. I will see you guys in a second.